5 to
where
10.
I
Yeah,
Running
just
late.
give about
where
5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes. So.
this is where I actively start refreshing everything to make sure that the stream has actually just gone live as well.
Whoops. I gotta.
It says we went. It says we were online, and then we weren't, and this is usual. This is usual.
Oh my gosh.
No, we're good. Apparently.
Good.
Let me just.
Excellent.
Yeah, cool. Sounds coming through by the looks of it as well.
Going to be forceful today in the,
Nice.
in the Discord by instead of just saying right gang, we're going to say it right at everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Make sure-
everyone.
Yeah.
once
Make
it's
sure
done,
it's
it
It's
would be at
serious.
everyone.
It's like, listen, guys, we have a very big guest today. There we go. That's the message away.
Okay, let's have a look. I gotta have a look.
I'll do.
It's nothing
Twitter, I
special.
guess.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just, curiosity killed the cat and all that.
I did do that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's Brent already.
Hey, Brent.
Brilliant. Brent is our regular. He always shows up first. That's how I know everybody's
Awesome.
gonna be showing up soon. Ah.
Notification going out on the video.
Oh, Brent.
Yeah.
Chad reporting for duty. Absolutely.
He relinquished that off of Deadbeat Punk. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but what, you just they not buy more subs or something? Can't
Yeah,
remember.
I think that's
So yeah.
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 So funny. Ooh, I gotta put the alert box on. In case we get a, sub. We
Yeah,
might.
you never know.
Never know. Never know.
Check something on my computer.
Such a nerd. I heard alert box and was like, is that like red alert, like Star Trek or something? It's like, something goes horribly wrong. Like, shit, what are we gonna do? I don't know what would go wrong in Twitch that you'd need an alert box like that though.
I don't know.
Divert all energy to shields.
Right, team red alert.
Don't, because I will start quoting Basement Jacks.
Oh gosh, what is that?
It's a band that did a song called Red Alert,
Oh.
Yeah.
and it was glorious.
Which one?
See, I was-
Romeo was better, to be fair.
I was more of a fan of Red Alert than Romeo, to be honest. And
They're both good, to be fair.
they're both fun, both decent songs. Like Basement Jacks are a bit underrated, if I'm honest.
Yeah. They were. Wonder where they've gone to.
Uh,
What they're doing.
Basement.
Fair.
That was
Yeah.
awful. I apologise. That was so bad.
It's a fair assumption, though.
Yeah, they jacked into the basement.
Oh no, that's
Yeah,
worse.
I know. I did say I could have got a lot worse.
Brent, what did you think of that joke, Brent?
I don't know. I just think the deadpan way of just doing it straight faced and everything was just the one.
Brent beat the notifications. Nice.
Oh, so did I too.
But you're on the thing.
Yeah, you kind of
Yeah,
have
just
to. Yeah, you've got no choice.
I mean, just make me feel better about myself there,
Oh,
Chloe.
sorry. Pete, good job, Pete. You beat the notifications today. You get an A plus.
Yeah, so Brent's had no caffeine yet, so he's still just
Oh.
waking up. So well done for beating a notification in your lack of caffeine.
I've just finished this 20-ounce mug of coffee, so I'm good.
Wow.
And
The sports director mug and everything.
Sponsorship.
yeah, we're not aren't actually sponsored by Sports Direct, but they do make good mugs. That's
They do.
probably about the only good thing they do.
I also do, in terms of sponsorships, I do my best to get as noticed by Phil Spencer so he can.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just sponsor Game Pass. Like my little
Oh,
thing
you're
on Friday
spiel.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, once Karen gets going, it's hashtag ad all the way.
I love Game
Right.
Pass.
Yeah, so we might need to divulge that a fair few times during today.
There will be no Game Pass today. There will be no Game Pass today.
You will find a way,
you-
Ciaran.
You know what?
ways to-
True.
I'm just thinking I might actually have a way, but you know what? We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, this
But
will-
Oh, I
Oh.
already know.
Oh.
I think I already know how you're gonna work that.
Where's
in.
this little nugget gonna appear?
No, I know exactly where it's gonna appear.
Brent says, I'm really liking Black Book, by the way. Oh, good. Yeah, I really want to see, and I'll look into that and see if it's
Yeah.
something
I,
good.
I feel like such a
I'm-
tech,
I'm just-
tech nerd here with my laptop and my computer.
I
So,
know. I'm just disappointed with Black Book that there wasn't a character voiced by Dylan Moran.
Oh, gosh, I love Dylan Moran.
Mm.
But I am biased. Oh, yeah, Andrew, you probably don't know. Despite the accent, I'm in Ireland.
I mean, unless we'd sent you a Sports Direct mug, like across the water, I was like, I assumed you were somewhere
I mean,
in the United Kingdom Ireland area.
admittedly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kylie's tried to send that back to a few people in back in the
way.
homeland.
They don't deserve it.
Not even Lynn. Poor Lynn.
Do you know how heavy
I'm sure
those
she
things
needs
are?
that 20-ounce coffee mug.
She doesn't drink coffee.
She
I
still
was gonna say,
needs.
surely there's like bigger over
Oh.
there, right? Like everything's
Oh,
bigger.
yeah, big
Oh
gulp,
my gosh,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm from Texas, so oversized stuff in
Right.
Texas is a joke. So yeah, there's gonna be some massive mug somewhere, I'm sure.
I mean, your state is oversized already as is anyway.
Yes.
Takes up a huge amount of land mass.
It's true. Okay, guys, what do you think? Go a little bit, 3-4 more minutes, and then.
I mean, I-
Four
Or you think we
minutes
should
and
just
then we'll
go?
from there.
Okay.
so it's 15:15 then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Nice even time
Okay.
at quarter
You
past.
can
We'll
take
give
a
them
start.
4 minutes.
Because I know Chloe is gonna hop in.
Yeah.
Sophie
so,
might have
the thing
done
is-
I think
so.
they're all. I was gonna say twitching. They're all streaming.
They're all twitching. Well, no, maybe that's it. We need to start the trend. Just say, right, guys, we're twitching today, and that's just code for
We
streaming.
be twitching. God, what was that? Skitching? Wasn't that a game? That was a game. At least it wasn't
What?
American. Skitching. Where you were a skateboarder and you had to like catch to the back of cars.
Question.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And it,
What-
and
what
it
do
would
you
be
mean?
like
Is
It
sketching
was
or
on the-
sketching?
no skitching because I think it was on the Sega and it would come up and it would go because it was
Oh, okay.
bad 8-bit sound.
Oh yeah, where they
16-bit or
tried to
whatever.
actually put voices in
Yeah.
those games, like B-52 Bomber.
Oh my gosh!
I'm gonna presume this is before my time.
Shut up.
Hence why I'm.
I mean, B-52 Bomber was probably before my time.
Oh
too.
yeah, that's like way. I think that's like late 70s, early 80s. But
Mm.
Skitchin, I'm pretty sure is like late 90s because it would have been like my babysitter that. had it,
Late 90s. So yeah, probably would. Well, yeah, it would have been on like a Sega console, some sort of
That's-
swivel,
yeah.
or it's a Mega Drive, because they did keep producing games. Andrew, you might be able to help out with this one. They kept making games for the Mega Drive even when the Saturn was still out.
Yeah, they did. They juggled like 4 or 5 consoles all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they wondered why they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, because the Sega CD or the Mega CD, as
Yeah.
they called it over here.
Yeah, it was Sega.
Then the 32X, the Mushroom.
Oh, there's Chloe.
Mhm.
Hey, Chloe.
Oh, hey, Chloe. Yeah, they had the Mushroom, and then they had the Saturn that was being developed by Japan, but the 32X was being developed by the US Sega.
Mhm.
And then the Dreamcast just uncut it all, and we won't go into that.
Yeah.
Oh, we
because
will go
that's
into
a
that,
sad-
but
well,
in a few
we
minutes.
may or may not.
Yeah, I have questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to remember when the last like Mega Drive or Genesis game
Yes.
came out.
Genesis is a better name. This is the superior name.
Technically, they're still making them, right? You
Yeah,
can still
actually,
buy
yeah, they
like
are.
new games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because they're still
So-
doing it on the NES. They're still producing
Yeah.
games. Atari has still got
Yeah,
games coming
yeah.
out as well, which is
Yeah.
it's crazy what people are doing with carts. I guess like because they're cheap. Like you can.
I think there's
Fun.
I think there's a fun element to it to just do it
Mm.
because you can.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
of course.
At least that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Brent's got an interesting take before we start this thing. I didn't like the Diablo 2 beta this weekend.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
Oh, is that a remaster or something?
Yeah, are we
Oh,
talking remaster?
Diablo 2 Reforged, is it? No,
Yeah,
not Reforged.
something like that.
Ooh. I think that was probably released on purpose.
No. no, Reforged was Warcraft, wasn't it? So I don't think
That was the really terrible Warcraft 3
Yeah.
remaster.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which I was
Well,
sad about because I love the original Warcrafts. I love them, but
I remember
it's
going
terrible.
back to that episode actually where we were previewing the 2020 games and you were talking about that game and
I
it
was
was like,
excited.
"Jeez."
I was so
You were
excited.
well excited.
Yeah, and it's like that.
But yeah.
Resurrected. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Can I be honest here? I had no plans on playing it anyway
Mm-hmm.
because it's Diablo. I've never played Diablo, but also because getting away from not touching on real world stuff. I'm just not supporting Activision Blizzard in any
right.
shape or form.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
never playing any of their games until they change their ways.
Till something happens anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Look,
well, we get this-
I'm
think we should
not
get
backing down
ready.
until Bobby Kotick's gone. That's where I sit.
Yeah. It's a good sense to have.
Yeah, but anyway, that's too political, and we vowed never to talk about it. So
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. We
Yeah,
are
let's go to the
gonna
episode, yeah.
start this episode. Pete, would you like to count me down?
I can. So we're going to start the recording of episode 91 in 3, 2.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Rapid Reviews Radio Podcast, episode 91. Is that correct? Okay,
Mhm.
we're on episode 91. They are flying by so fast, I cannot remember what number they are at this point. But we have a very exciting episode for you today, and we have a very special guest. First, let me introduce my co-host, which is, we've got Ciaran, we've got Pete, we've got myself, Kiley Wild. But above all, we are joined by a very special guest from Lock On
I lost the coat.
and
Yeah.
Lost in Colt. See? That's why I have them. I am very bad at those things. But Andrew Dickinson, and we're very happy to have you here, Andrew. How are you?
Hello, thank you.
Yes. that's
I'm
right.
good. Happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Aw, yay. As always, I kind of like to just start with a little bit of generic, how's everyone doing? So, and then we'll dive right into this magnificent adventure that we're about to go on together. So,
Well, let's let our guest answer that question first, shall we?
yeah, okay. Andrew, how are you how have you been this week? And have you played anything worth noting this week?
Ooh. I am good. I'm tired. So I had 2 weeks off work and then went back to work last week while also trying to do all the other stuff that I do. And I was like, oh no. So I'm fine. I'm tired. I've also had no time to play any games apart from I think a couple of levels of Angry Birds because it's on Apple Arcade now. They did
Okay.
like a remastered version.
Yes.
And like between calls while it was quiet at work, I was like, I'm just gonna bring Angry Bird up and do a bit of that. But that's literally all I've played for the whole week. I just had
that's
no
great.
time to play anything else. So
Take
Yeah.
it from someone like myself who has been spent the last week remastering old episodes. Trust me, with a day job, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from on that one. So make sure you take some time for yourself if you
Oh,
can.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Pete's been working super hard, ridiculously hard on getting our old episodes up, among other of the million jobs that he does. So,
Too
Pete,
many.
what have you had any playtime this week?
Well, we had a bit of time. Was it yesterday night or Friday night?
Yes.
Yesterday
Yeah,
night.
God, they just all blend together.
Saturday night as we're recording this. Obviously, we played the Back for Blood beta again.
Yeah.
Now that it's in open, we got a pretty fast start in the campaign
We
again.
did.
Actually, that was quite surprising. So we got 2 chapters from the end, I believe, which is the furthest we went. It got intense. Let's not lie about that one.
Yeah.
And I think we're all quite frazzled and drained and exhausted by the end of that section. We were just like, right, I think we're done. Because we did have Jonathan join us as well, who, was very nice to be able to play some games with him as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were exhausted and covered in zombie blood. But,
Ciaran covered in zombie blood even before it started, so I wondered what he'd been doing beforehand.
Listen, right. The game gave him a machete. I'm not gonna just not use it.
I was talking about you, not your character. Things are mental up in Scotland,
Anyway, how about you? How's your week been, and what have you played?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's a perfect segue, but we are here.
Hey, shush.
Um,
You pretend like it is, and people
yeah.
believe you.
I don't really know what I was playing at the start of the week. Well, yeah, we're kind of doing a write up for the Back for Blood beta from last week.
Yes.
Start of the week.
Yeah.
This week, I should say, since Friday, since Hades got added to Game Pass, it has been the only thing I've played, and it's tremendous. It's remarkable, and the storytelling is fantastic.
Mhm.
Especially if you're a nerd that loves all your Greek mythology, because there's so many references and there's so many characters that show up, and it's brilliant. If you've not played Hades, do try it if you have Game Pass on
Yeah.
Game Pass PC and
Of
console.
course.
I was
Mark
just,
that bingo card.
man, I was gonna be like, hey, Ciaran, isn't that on something?
Yeah. Now,
Uh,
I'm in a WhatsApp group with a bunch of guys that I play poker with, and that's literally all they've been talking about all weekend as
is
well.
Hades
Yeah,
or Game Pass?
both. Hades being on Game Pass has enabled them to talk about it.
Well, we are going to move right on and dive right in. But chat, as you float in, as you come in, do feel free to ask questions, make comments. We might not get to them immediately. We might save them towards the end, depending, on the relevance and stuff. But do it. Do it now.
Don't worry, I will be keeping an eye on it all the way through,
Yes.
and we'll wait for a right time to be able to ask those
right.
questions, unless it involves something that we are already talking about, and then we can just
Yeah.
bring it up then.
Pete, our fearless moderator leader.
Please don't call me the dictator like you have done before. I can't live up to M. Bison.
That's because it's not Tuesday. Anyway, a joke only Pete gets.
I'm sure that the vast amount of fans of the Street Fighter movie, those cult fans now know.
Speaking of cold, I did it. It's a real segue. Ciaran.
I mean, you ruined it by highlighting that you just segued.
Yeah, a good segue doesn't get highlighted like that.
I'm self-aware and meta. Ciaran, would you like to kick the things off?
I guess like kind of first thing we really know is I'd love to know a bit more about you, Andrew. I guess
Absolutely.
tell us about yourself, how you got into starting writing for games, talking about games, and what some of the games you started out playing.
Sure. Goodness. Well, I guess I could start like way back, but this is like it'd be life story stuff, and it would take too long. So essentially, I got started in what I'm doing now, kind of back in 2018. So it's not that long. It's not that.
Right.
I can't speak. It's not that long ago, really.
Oh, okay.
So it's, I've done stuff for a while. So I used to write for a fan site for the Dreamcast back when I was 16, which is many moons ago now because I'm very old. And it was quite popular at the time because it was the dawn of the internet, pretty much. Again, very old. And that was fun. And I did that for like a year and a half before the Dreamcast died. And then I went into other stuff and continued to play games.
Wait, let me clarify
So-
for our audience.
Oh.
You were
Sure.
writing about the Dreamcast when the Dreamcast was existing. Am I
Yeah.
understanding?
Yes.
So in that hot minute that it was actually
Wow,
out
okay.
and before it was discontinued.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
That is awesome. Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, like, what kind of? You said you were 16. Did that?
Mhm.
Did that kind of prepare you for the future in like journalism and stuff? Did you get actual real world experience, as they say?
In terms of
It
Lost,
was. Sorry.
I was just gonna say in terms of Lost and Cult and stuff as well.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So at the time, so it was very much fan stuff. So the whole thing was that I got my Dreamcast. I'd never had a Sega console before, and I was in love with it as soon as I got it. I bought it for Resident Evil Code Veronica, and then found stuff like Power Stone and Crazy Taxi and stuff. And I was like, "What the heck is this?" Like I've not played stuff like this before. And because it was the early internet, it was all chat rooms and forums back then. So I was going onto chat rooms and trying to find like-minded people who also like the Dreamcast. And I stumbled across this guy called Faz, same age as me. and he was like, "Oh, I'm making a fan site for the Dreamcast." I was like, "Cool, I'll help." And we ended up spending like a year doing that, and it's still online. It's called dreamcastsource.co.uk.
Oh, that's cool.
It's still there. And it's very much a very early 2000s site. There's like a poll to one side and little ads down the side, and you can see my really terrible writing, which over relied on capitalization and exclamation marks because I was 16 and incredibly excited about everything.
That's
so
excellent.
It was really bad. It was so bad.
Oh,
so bad.
that's
And it's
gonna
there for
be
everybody to
nostalgic.
read.
Yeah,
Look.
that's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Everyone feels like that. I've gone back and read some old stuff that I wrote, and Jesus, I don't want to read that myself, let alone anyone else read it. So I can respect that.
Yeah.
I will say my first year in journalism, I had to let go of the exclamation points, and that was the hardest sacrifice I've ever made.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah,
nope,
it really is.
Nope, no exclamation
Oh.
points. Get rid of them.
I've had to do the same, and now I'm like, whenever I see anybody else using exclamation marks, I can't use them. Nobody else can. So I'm like, delete. That's a full stop. I can't use it. You can't either.
I guess that's the joy of being an editor. Then
Oh,
you
yeah.
have that power.
Oh,
Exactly. I just use them in group text now. I'm like, I'll just use these exclamation marks to the fullest while I can.
Non-formal colloquial aspects.
yeah.
Let's use them then.
mine's full of exclamation points and emojis and everything, and then my writing is like, like dry and boring.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I could put a smiley here. But
Why can't we use emoji in formal writing? Damn it.
right? Oh, that conveys emotion.
I mean, imagine that like all the years ago when the internet first started. We didn't have emojis back then. We just had colons and
I used-
semi brackets to make smiley faces.
I learned those I had printed out the whole entire what was it? I think it was Japanese emoticons or whatever it was called at the time. And
Oh, emoticons.
yeah, and it's all the semicolon smiles and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I had them memorized from MSN Messenger. or,
Yes,
you know.
yes, exactly. Oh, good.
No,
old
enough of
Messenger.
this trip down nostalgia lane. Because poor old Kieran's looking at us going, I don't even know any of this exists.
What's MSN?
I probably was not born,
No.
but
Kieran,
But
would you
yes.
like to continue on?
Were you born after the Dreamcast? Were you born after the Dreamcast?
I-
Just after?
I mean, I think so. I was
Yes,
born in the year
he was.
2000.
That was when the Dreamcast was discontinued.
Yes, it was.
2001. So yeah, just about.
So,
Wow.
so am I to blame
Okay.
for that?
Yes.
Was it me?
I'm blaming you specifically.
Yeah,
It was
you're
you.
the reason why the Dreamcast fell apart, not Sony's or Sega's mismanagement in any way.
No.
I knew it was too much of a
It was
coincidence.
like Sega Japan. Sega Japan was like, there's this kid who's been born in Scotland called Ciaran, and he's just ruined everything for us. That's it. We have to close.
But how did he do it? He was born.
It's some ancient prophecy they
Oh,
have
gosh.
in the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, like in a cave, it's like this crude illustration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Kieran, would you like to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, so of course, you grew up with a Dreamcast, you wrote with a Dreamcast. Is that why you then went on to make Dreamcast Years?
Yeah, essentially. So back 2018, I was coming out of quite a dark place. I was very depressed, anxious. I was going through therapy and had just a really terrible time of it. And I was like, I need to get back to what I used to love doing, which was talking and writing about games. Hadn't done it for a long time. I'd just been working 9 to 5, doing the general adult things. And I was like, I could be doing something fun. So I decided to write a book about the Dreamcast, which was Dreamcast Year 1. Which I kickstarted back in 2019, and that kind of started to come into idea form in 2018. So I did that. The Dreamcast Years podcast came out of that, and then I went on to do Dreamcast Year 2, which is being written at the moment, and then just a bunch of opportunities kept popping up. The latest of which was being asked to be editor-in-chief for Lock On for Lost in Cult. So yeah, it's just all spiraled from that moment where I decided, hey, I've had enough of being sad and depressed, and I'm going to do something fun for a change and write about stuff that I like. And lots of cool stuff has spiraled on from that, which is very nice.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
Now, with the fact that a lot of outlets and a lot of different individuals on the internet are now talking about Sega consoles in a massive way. Like, do you feel like that you were one of the first, like, kind of the trendsetter in that respect with the Dreamcast years, like first year or anything like that? And also, what kind of association have you had with these other outlets? Like, I'll name one, like Sagaholics podcast and stuff like that.
Sure. So, I mean, I wouldn't say trendsetter because Dreamcast has been on the up for quite some time. So there's a blog and a podcast called the Dreamcast Junkyard, which I'm also now a part of. But they've been going since 2005, which is a few years after the Dreamcast bit the dust.
Yep.
And they've been incredibly popular. And I think in more recent years, so probably the last 5 years, people have kind of started to explore the Dreamcast more. There's all these new ways to play it. There's like the GDMU, there's the HDMI inputs for it, and all these new games coming out for it. So yeah, I mean in terms of written stuff, I think Dreamcast Year One's probably one of the first, as well as the is it the ROM book, Sega Dreamcast Collected Works?
Yeah.
Which is an officially licensed one, of course. Mine is not officially licensed. It's unofficial. But it's so I guess so. And I mean, I have a lot of the Dreamcast community is, I mean, I say it's not huge, but it's fairly big in terms of retro communities, and there's lots of different sites. And I have people that I know in pretty much all the sites. So I know people from Dreamcast Today. I know Sagaholic, of course. I've been talking to him since before he started his the Sega Guys podcast. And he in fact helped me get a Saturn with a Fenrir mod in it. So we're quite close. We've done a podcast or two together as well.
Is that Dan over at Sagaholic?
So that would be James.
Oh, okay.
I know Dan as well. So
Yeah.
Dan I know too very well. And they've both written, because I'm doing a zine for my second book,
Oh, cool.
and they've written a piece for the zine as well,
Amazing.
which let's have a look. It's where is it? I'm showing. I mean, this is going to be no good for the podcast where nobody can see it, but for people who can,
That
is
amazing. And bearing it,
so that is the Sega Guys.
and of course it had a Virtua Fighter thing in there because
Of course,
Dan's huge
yeah.
in his fighting games, isn't he? Like myself. So.
Yes.
We actually did have a question from the Twitch chat. Chloe 047, one of our writers here at Rapid Reviews, wants to know top 3 games of all time. I guess that's probably for Sega consoles, or
I think it's general
Ooh.
again.
it could be general. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, generally, if we're talking general, Resident Evil Remake, because that is the best Resident Evil game ever.
What, the first one?
Not the very first, the remake of the first one.
Yeah, the one that came for GameCube, and
That's it.
Very,
Yeah.
very good game.
Very good game. I mean, it's just the way that it turned everything from really schlocky B-movie horror into a really proper horror game where the voice acting wasn't terrible. I mean, it still wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. And the backgrounds are really atmospheric, and they added a bunch of new stuff that made it just so much better. So that for sure. Shenmue, of course. I mean,
Nice.
you know, if you like the Dreamcast generally speaking, you're probably going to like Shenmue.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal.
Fair play.
And what would my third one be?
The third one
Oh,
has...
I can't decide. Sorry.
No, I want you to say your third one, and then I'm going to ask you about a game.
Oh,
Okay, sure. Sure. So, third one, I can never decide between them, but it's either The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2.
Alright, okay.
okay.
Yeah, that's
I
your
love them
choice.
both. But yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah. Brent then asked, why not top 3 Dreamcast games? Just to throw something in there.
So, top 3 Dreamcast games. Do you want me to answer that now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Shenmue, because that was part of my top 3 regular, so that's obviously going to be up there. Power Stone
Yes.
Ooh,
You're
nice,
talking my
okay.
language.
is great, and I prefer the first one to the second one.
You're also talking my language here.
I'm waiting to hear.
See,
There's two
there's
more
so
that
many.
I love.
but there's so many. So I could easily say Crazy Taxi, but it's probably
Wow.
and it probably is up there. But I would
Yeah.
probably there's too many. I'm gonna have to say, and this is because I've played it literally 20 times. It is like my most played game ever, and that is Space Channel 5.
Nice.
Oh,
Absolutely love
yes.
Space Channel 5.
That's a
That's
game.
a great game.
It's a game that's not
It's a
spoken about
fantastic
that
game.
much, actually. Weirdly enough.
Really, no.
Yeah.
It needs to be spoken about more. Like it's like a 1 hour game. Like it's a 1 hour
Yeah.
experience, and that's why I've completed it 20 times, and to the degree that I got it down so that I could literally do 100% perfect.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. Mm.
Yes.
So, Kylie, you can have your moment to talk about the infamous game you like.
Okay, it's my favorite game on Dreamcast. So, what do you think of Seaman?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is probably, so there are a lot of Dreamcast games and I haven't played all of them. Seaman is a game that I've never played, but I have seen a lot of it being played. It never came out in the UK, so I never imported it. So
yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Or I've totally forgotten that because that's a horrible mark against history.
I know. It is. I need to get it just because it's got Leonard Nimoy.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing with the mic and everything was so new and stuff. But anyway, that's my fascination. I think that and then Nights into Dreams.
Yeah, but just watching Nintendo fans tell you they all started with Mario Party 6, they'd be wrong.
Well, what is there a mic and
the microphone
peripherals?
Oh, see,
Have you ever seen a game called Lifeline for the PS2?
Yeah.
That uses the microphone, and that's really interesting how they do that.
Yeah, that's very interactive and stuff. Oh my gosh, yeah. Totally forgot about that.
Very cool. Although it's one of those games where it's very much, it didn't come out here, and because voice recognition was so new, it didn't recognize accents very well.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to basically put on an American accent in order for it to understand the commands you were giving it. So...
Yeah.
They had a lot of that problem with AI technology in like microphone games, didn't they, back in the day?
Yeah.
I learned that since being here. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you see, back in the day, I remember on the 360 with Kinect and stuff, having to speak in an English accent because it could understand Scottish.
And I love the fact that you call that back in the day.
Back in my day.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh dear. Okay.
Ciaran, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, I was going to say, before we move on to the actual Lost and Cult stuff, I'm assuming you were also growing up with a lot of physical games media, like magazines and stuff, when they were kind of in their heyday, so to speak. I'm assuming now that you having wrote the Dreamcast Years and now working on Lock On, is physical games media something you're quite attached to, you're passionate about?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you can't see them, but right next to me on this side down here, I've got like a huge abundance of game magazines from back in the day. I've got tons of Edge magazines, DC UK, official Dreamcast magazine. I've got the first issue of the American official Dreamcast magazine somewhere as well, and yeah. So I'm very much attached. And behind me, again, this is great for podcasts. I'm pointing at things that people who are listening cannot see, but I've got like binders behind me, and these are all full of like DVDs, games, Blu-rays. Mostly because my partner does not like the boxes on display, so I have to put them all in binders so that they're away. But yeah, I'm huge on physical media. I absolutely love it. I've gotten more into digital recently because it's just the convenience of it. But if I really like a game or a DVD or something, I will buy it physically as well.
Yeah,
so,
I think me and you share that sentiment quite a lot. More so than probably these guys above us, because my partner also complains of me about my physical games. She don't like it. She's now like basically we're in the process of looking for a house, and she has basically said you're not having any of those games anywhere other than your office. So thanks for that. But also, I'm embracing more digital culture and the way of doing things digitally, and I usually will buy a game physically if you can, and if a game is decent enough, or I enjoy a game enough. So, do you feel like the digital aspect of things it could overtake physical media, or do you always feel like physical media is always going to be sort of something that people cherish?
I think as new people come into gaming, I say new people as in, people who are like, it's their first time gaming, they're just going to want digital, right? Because it's all about the convenience. You can literally just go onto Game Pass, which obviously Ciaran loves, and you can... What's that? and download a game, and it's the convenience. I get why people love it so much, but I think even then there's the aspect of preservation, and unless big companies are going to be digitally preserving their games so that they're always available, then physical media has its place still. I mean, you just have to look at Sony and the issues they had recently with potentially taking down the PS3 store, the Vita store, and the kickback they got for that. It was like, no, like a lot of those games would have just been lost. There was about, I can't remember, there's like 20, 30 games that never had a physical release on those consoles, maybe more in fact, and they would have just disappeared unless people had them saved somewhere. So yeah, I think physical media has its place still. I think it always will. I just think it will become more and more niche as time goes on, and I think that's where limited run companies will come into it and be like, hey, if you really want this physical, here you go, have it. But I think actual proper big manufacturing of physical will probably decrease over time. So,
and I thought that was quite interesting. Obviously, that in Volume 1 of Lock On, you had or Lost. I can't even remember which the name of the publication is. Lock On, isn't it? Okay, Lost in yeah, I'm getting confused. So, but obviously in the first volume, you have that article talking about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, probably one of the most famous delisted games of all time. And obviously, you had an interview with Limited Run Games, who are very instrumental in bringing that game back. I just wanted to ask, obviously, because of the association with the Dreamcast, as well as physical game preservation, had you seen the hashtag #FreeMVC2 going around on Twitter?
No, I had not.
Okay.
What's that?
Basically, Maximilian, were fighting game person, basically said MVC2 can't be sold it's not being sold anywhere, and it is now becoming a problem with digital delisting and stuff like that. So he's setting up a campaign to bring back MVC2.
Awesome.
So he's trying to get the developers, people who are behind the remaster, to try and talk to Marvel, Disney, and Capcom to try and get it relisted again. So
that'd be good.
Yeah,
I can see there being huge problems with that though, because like I guess with Scott Pilgrim it's easier because the guy who made Scott Pilgrim was the main person they had to get on board, right? Because it's his property, whereas Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel is now so different from what it was in the early 2000s. So trying to get, and it's owned by Disney of all people. So trying to get Disney to agree their licensing rights, that's going to be like climbing up a mountain to try and get that done. I hope they can do it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be tough.
Oh, it was. That was just a question I wanted to ask because it's talks about the Dreamcast in some way. But I'll let Ciaran move on with Lost in Cult for this one.
Okay. What do we call it? Yes. So, actual Lost in Cult now. I was caught off guard there. I was quite interested because I remember playing there's this bar in the city near Glasgow. That is an arcade bar.
Ooh,
and I remember playing like a Marvel vs. Capcom on the actual arcade machine in there. Like that was like 2 years ago.
That was the weird thing about it, is they recently just had the rights put into an arcade 1-up cabinet, so it can be done. It's just weird how it's not been done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yes, Lost in Cult. I guess first thing is, though, to anyone that doesn't know what it is, mind telling us what Lost in Cult is.
Sure. So Lost in Cult is, and obviously Pete getting confused there a little bit is understandable. So Lost in Cult is like it's fine. Don't worry. I get confused all the time. So, what am I doing? What's going on? So Lost in Cult is the publisher essentially of Lock On, and we are we were created by John Doyle, and he is a big game and media preservationist. So Lost in Cult is about talking about cult media in general, with Lock On being the first thing that we're doing, which is obviously a gaming journal. But Lost in Cult, we also have a kind of an online presence via Steady, so we talk about cult media there. And in the future, hopefully, we're going to have even more stuff. But we're kind of very much focused on Lock On right now, and taking that forward. And that, of course, is, as I said, it's our premium gaming journal where we talk all about games. I don't know what I was going to say there, but it's a gaming journal that talks about games. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, have you been there from the beginning then?
No. So John started it. Well, he's had the company for a couple of years, and he started Lock On very start of this year, pretty much, kind of end of last year. Started dreaming it up. I've known John for a couple of years, and ever since I've known him, he's always kind of talked about wanting to do like a premium gaming publication. And I was like, yeah, go for it. And he's never found a time or a reason to do it. And eventually he did. And I think he was doing it right while I was busy with other stuff. And he was like, oh, if you want to do something, that'd be great. And I was like, fine, I'll write something for it. That's fine. And then as time went on, I think the Kickstarter happened, and I backed that, and I knew I was writing for it, so that's great. And then I was kind of helping him out with technicalities on Kickstarter, because I've done it before twice, and he'd never done it, and he was like asking me questions about how Kickstarter worked. And after the Kickstarter had finished, he was like, "Do you want to come on board like as a proper role? Like you could be a staff writer." And I was like, "Sure, okay, I'll be a staff writer." And then I just ended up talking to him every single day for 2 weeks about all the stuff that was going on and things that he needed help with. He's like, "Do you want to be technical director?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. I'll help." And then a week later, he was like, "Yeah, me and my partner, so his partner Elisa, they both do that together." And it's like me and Elisa were talking, and we think maybe we'd want you to be editor in chief. And I was like, "Sure, okay, I'll be editor in chief." So, just like, so I wasn't there from the beginning, and it just happened to like grow just because I was constantly there. I was giving advice, I was helping, I was giving my opinion on things, and after a while, it was just like, well, you might as well just have an official title. And now it's all I do. Like literally for the past like 2 months, I've just been lost in Cult Lock on like constantly. No, non-stop. I took 2 weeks off work with the intention of playing games, and I didn't play any games for 2 weeks because I was too busy helping get Lock On out the door. So
it always
yeah,
happens though. When you got a big push going on, it always is the case. So.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so that's I said I wasn't there from the beginning, but I'm very much firmly there now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I just wanted to know how you put together the team. Actually, like, was it all pitch based, or did you go out and specifically ask people if they wanted to contribute towards it?
So I know that originally when John started putting it together, before I got involved, it was him and Jason Madison, who's the creative director at the moment, and he has a background in doing graphic design and publishing, because he does that for his job. But he was very instrumental in making sure that we could get the really premium finish to the journal and make sure everything was right in terms of printing. So they got together and they were kind of discussing it at first, and I think they just, because John works for a lot of publications as well, like Sean, who's on the team. Yeah. He works for Switch Player, he works for Ninty Fresh, he works for a bunch of other companies as well. So he had loads of contacts. So he was like, "Oh, Sean, who works for Ninty Fresh, and stuff. Oh, do you want to come in? You can be our content editor." And Ben Hayho, "Oh, do you want to come in and do marketing?" And then over time, we managed to the writers that we were getting in, because we got pitches through for different articles. And the really good writers who we really liked, they ended up coming in as staff writers. And then for Volume 2, now Volume 1's out of the way, Sean, because he has so much to do, he's stepped down. He's still a staff writer, but he's no longer our content director. So Ben Hayho is now our content director, and we've had a bunch of other people. Like we've now got Bella Blondo, who's I never know if I'm pronouncing her surname right, so sorry Bella if I pronounce that incorrectly. Bella is our social media and marketing manager. So we've built the team over time, just kind of finding people that we know from John's contacts, from mine, from people we know on Twitter, that we've seen their work and go, "Hey, that's awesome, we want to have you involved." And artist wise, like we don't have anybody who works like all the time with us, but John, because he's very much art focused, he has like loads of contacts here, there and everywhere with people in that kind of sphere. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much that, I suppose.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as well, you're saying, I forgot his name. I was just getting so caught up there. But one of the founders of Lost in Cult is actually works within publishing. Were you saying that?
Yeah, he doesn't work within like magazine publishing as such. He works for like, I think he's a university press, so he does like university prospectuses and stuff like that. But it's still, in terms of technical side of things, it's exactly the same, really. So he knows how to put something together so that it looks good in print. He knows how to put things on the page and work with printing presses and stuff. So he's good on that. So yeah, he's not in the magazine part of it. Basically, everybody who works in this were pretty fresh to the whole thing. Like, John and a few other people have worked for Ninty Fresh and Switch Player, which gives them some experience. And obviously, I've published a book before, but it's all self-published stuff. So yeah.
Kylie, did you have a question you wanted to raise about the publishing?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually answered a lot of my questions as well. Because in publishing myself. So I don't know what I'm gonna ask now.
I've got some-
Because
I've
that
got
threw
some-
me off. Yes,
Yeah.
please, Ciaran, rescue me.
Yeah, it's because later on I was going to even ask, was getting the actual physical thing made a challenge, but by the sounds of it, you kind of had all the stuff set for you to
Yeah.
make this an actual thing in terms of publishing anyway.
I mean, it's still a challenge.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like we had all the right people, but I mean, we had sample copies through, and I mean, the sample copies were less than perfect. There's always going to be problems with printing just because of the nature of it.
Yeah.
You have to get everything just right, and if it's not just right,
That's
it
right.
looks terrible.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to get right. So we were glad that we got the samples, because at one point we were like, we're really pushing the deadline here. Should we just print it? And we were like, no.
No, that's bad.
No.
Whatever you do.
Oh, no.
But yeah, so but like a lot changed. Like there was at one point there was an article that looked completely different to how it does now in the journal, and we had the samples printed and we looked at it and we were like, this isn't really, it doesn't flow right, it doesn't look, because it's one thing to look at it in digital form and you're just scrolling down a page and you're like, fine, yeah, this looks fine, but you flick through it in a book and you're like, this looks a lot different from everything else in here. And when you're flicking through like that, it's like, it stands out. So we ended up literally, I think, with 3 days before last print, we changed the entire feature. So we redid it. We put new imagery in, everything. And
Oh my god!
Wow. Okay.
So last minute changes. But then when we did and we got it done, we were like, yeah, this looks right now. It looks exactly like the rest of the book. It flows.
Sure.
So yeah.
I have a quick question about the publishing. Whose decision was it to create a hardcover?
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Okay. I think that was John's. And I think that, I mean, the reason why is because they're awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The only reason you need to write.
that's why I was touching on it, is because I've never seen a gaming publication like this have a hardcover, and it is really unique.
It looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
From the pictures we've seen of it, it looks utterly incredible, and I would
Yeah.
love to have a copy of it myself, but they're all sold out.
He just happens to have
keep
one.
an eye on the Kickstarter. Keep an eye on the Kickstarter for two.
Don't
is all
worry,
I can
I
say.
will be after reading the first issue,
Getting a little
obviously.
scoop
Well,
in
that
there.
is-
Look at that. Look
So
at
this
that.
is the.
Look, it's so
Very-
incredible. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's good.
There is nothing I love more than a nice hardcover of something. And Kylie, no,
It's very nice.
be on your best behaviour there.
I-
Yeah, it's like it's honestly was a touch of genius, like doing that, because I think it gives the people an incentive to want to back it if they really wanted to, but it also gives options to have the digital version, the soft cover, or the hardcover. And like I said, it's something you don't see very often, especially with gaming publications, and it does sort of lead on to a question later on, I guess, that we could.
Okay.
But I guess I'll probably bring it up now, is to do with the fact that there are a lack of gaming publications in print media. So was this something in particular you were looking to do because of that decline, or had you seen that some gaming publications, like we've mentioned, Ninty Fresh, coming up, and thought this is the perfect opportunity to do it?
It's a weird thing at the moment. So yeah, you're right. Like a lot of gaming publications have gone by the wayside. Literally in the last 2 years, both the official Xbox and official PlayStation magazine went.
Yeah, official Nintendo magazine went down the wayside as well, fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. A few years back, Games TM went as well, which is one of my favorite gaming magazines. And they were, I think it was 2017 that they ended. They just keep going. The only people who seem to be able to keep game magazines going are Future publications at the moment, which have Edge, Retro Gamer, PC Gamer, and that's pretty much it, really. So it's all left down to, well, now they have Play as well, which is the unlicensed PlayStation magazine that they brought out, which is actually pretty good.
It's quite a recent